Year after year, health trends evolve. Back then, we had things like CrossFit and even putting butter in our coffee. And now we have things like peptides and even something called hypoxic training. In this video, I want to go through the top health trends of 2026, and I'm going to share the ones that I'll be doing as well as the ones that I'll be skipping. And I don't say this often, but the last trend is something 100% of people should be doing. And by the way, my name is Dan Go. I owned a gym for 11 years. I sold that, and since 2018, I've been helping high-achieving entrepreneurs transform their health using science-based protocols that fit their busy lives. Here are the top health trends of 2026, starting with number one is GLP-1s. These are drugs like Ozempic, retatrutide, or tirzepatide, and unless you've been living under a rock, you know these have gone mainstream.
34 pounds down on GLP-1s.
And the US weight loss market has just hit record revenues driven largely by these medications. And forecasts are actually projecting GLP-1 drug sales to hit over $100 billion globally by 2030. So in 2026, we're starting to see oral versions, better versions, broader access for seniors, and entire new industries popping up around them. And my take on these is that they are life-changing medicines, and they are going to help a lot of people. And at the same time, I do believe a lot of people are going to be using them as a shortcut to skip over the actual stuff they need to be fixing, which is their lifestyle. And don't even get me started on the Ozempic phase. That's kind of scary. I also think for the vast majority of people who use these drugs, they will become lifetime customers. What we're starting to see right now with the research is that anywhere between 18 to 24 months after getting off the drug, people have regained all the weight that they had lost. And this is just common sense. When you turn off the hunger, eventually the hunger is going to come back. And if you haven't made any lifestyle or identity changes underneath, you're going to revert back to where you started. So would I do it? Well, yes, I'm actually going to be doing a 6-week GLP-1 test on myself. As someone in the fitness space who actually helps some clients who are on these medications, I just don't want to know what these things do in theory. I want to know what they do in practice. Now, I made sure before doing this that I got my body lean and I got my abs act first, and I talked about it on this video over here. And I wanted to do this because to me, getting lean is a skill. It's a behavior, and there's really no point in knowing how to get your body lean if you don't know the skill. But with that being said, I'm going to be doing a 6-week cycle going on something called retatrutide, and I'll be coming out with a video on that after this is done. Number two is peptides. Now, there has been a massive boom in longevity clinics and also gray market peptide suppliers popping up. Now, if you don't know what peptides are, they're short chains of amino acids that act as biological signaling molecules. They're often used in health and fitness contexts that trigger responses like fat loss, muscle growth, recovery, or even hormone regulation. And we just talked about a peptide in the first one, which is a GLP-1. So it's technically a peptide, but the ones that are getting a lot of attention right now are things like BPC 157 and TB 500. And regardless of what anyone says about these, they're still experimental and we don't know the long-term ramifications of actually using them. And we have yet to see one randomized control trial, and a lot of these tests have been done on animals. And there's just a lot of anecdotal experiences that are being promoted by people that you see on social media. Now, this does not mean that they're not effective, but it does give me pause before putting them into my body. And I have seen anecdotal evidence of something like BPC 157 having a dramatic healing effect on some of the people I know, but I've also seen some of the people I know in very small cases where it had a negative effect. Their efficacy could actually depend on the supplier or even the person taking them themselves. And we have to understand that there is a lot of these gray market peptides that are coming out into the market. And a lot of them are actually banned in most professional sports, not because they don't do nothing, but because they can powerfully alter your foundational hormone systems. I do see there's a possible benefit to taking these peptides right now, but I just don't see a need for them myself at this very moment.
Is anyone eating anymore, or is it just needles?
And also, if I ever found myself in need of one, I will want to be taking it under the advice of an endocrinologist or a qualified doctor and not just self-injecting myself based on social media or Reddit advice. Number three is going to be fiber, or what most people call Fibermaxxing. So 2026 is looking to be the year of fiber, and this focus isn't just on getting the grams of fiber on the labels anymore. It's actually using fiber to feed specific bacteria in your gut. So gut health is linked to everything from metabolic health to immunity to mood to chronic inflammation. And the stats don't lie. The vast majority of people in the West, I think is around 50 to 90%, they're not getting enough fiber. And also, colorectal cancer is the #1 killer of people under the age of 50. And fiber actually helps you protect against that. This one I'm a huge fan of because I actually just did a 21 test where I max dosed on psyllium husk. I did 2 tablespoons a day, 3 times a day, and the results were largely positive. I felt fuller, my gut health got better, and I farted a lot less, and that was a lot more regular. And I'm going to be doing a video on this in the near future. And I'm just all in on Fibermaxxing. I want to make sure that everyone's getting at least 25 to 35 grams per day. I think fiber is going to be just as important as getting enough protein. And I am making sure that our clients are going to be hitting that number every single day. Number 4 is going to be longevity going mainstream. So longevity has actually moved from being in the biohacker niche to mainstream media. And people are optimizing for longer lives, and it's actually showing up in the search terms on Google, as well as the increase in longevity clinics, longevity residences, and just influencers starting to become longevity experts. I believe the mainstream longevity movement is actually helping people live better lives, but in some cases, it can be an expensive distraction from the fundamentals. And longevity to me breaks down into 3 things. So we have lifespan, which is how long you live, health span, which is the quality of those years, and now there is emerging research on something called peak span, which is the period of your life where your physical and cognitive performance are at their highest. And we're starting to see research showing that we can actually extend this peak window instead of peaking too early and spending decades in decline like most people are. And also we're starting to see there's a lot of really cool research and medical breakthroughs that are showing that we can actually reduce our biological age and extend life. And I'm going to be keeping an eye on that, but more so, I'm going to be focused on the fundamentals and also doing things to improve my quality of life and extend my peak. And personally, I think people are leaning way too heavily on the living longer side and not nearly enough on the quality of those years. Because what's the point of living to 100 if the last 20 to 30 years you're afraid of walking down the stairs, or you can't even pick up your grandkids, or you can't even drive your car? I believe that we are over-indexing on living longer and under-indexing on living better, and I am going to be making sure I'm focusing on the latter than the former. Number 5 is going to be hyper-personal, data-driven health tracking. The wellness world is just going all in on personalization. And we're talking about at-home biomarker tests, microbiome tests, continuous glucose monitors, which have already been a thing. We're even tracking the quality of your poop. And honestly, I think we're getting too obsessive about this. I talked about this in my last video up here about the top lessons I learned in 2025. And one of the best things that happened to me was my Apple Watch breaking on me. I felt like my mental health improved because I stopped quantifying every single aspect of my life and started going by how I felt. That being said, I do think that everyone should know what their baselines are. I would spend at least 1 to 2 years knowing where your numbers are at, especially when it comes to how many steps you're doing and also your sleep quality and also your functional blood work. And focusing on these numbers for about 1 to 2 years is going to give you a baseline, but also give you an opportunity to track and improve your progress. But when you do fix those behaviors, you can actually let go of quantifying every single aspect of your health. Tracking the numbers that matter to you is great because what you measure is what you manage, but being obsessed about every single minute number is going to do more harm than good. And being a guy who has quantified almost all aspects of his health, I'm actually going to take a break from this. Trend number 6 is going to be altitude training. So hypoxic training is being positioned as the next biohacking breakthrough. The idea is that you spend time in a controlled low oxygen environment and it brings you several physiological benefits like improved red and white blood cell count, better endurance, and enhanced recovery. We have hyperbaric oxygen chambers, or you can train in special rooms, or you can even sleep in altitude-induced tents. Now, this is a cool one, but right now, the technology is new, which means that it's expensive, which also means that it's inaccessible to most people. Now, if you're a professional athlete or you train competitively in things like CrossFits, high roxes, marathons, Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, these can actually deliver real benefits and improve your performance. But for the average person who just wants to be fit and healthy, it is a nice to have at this point and not a need to have. And for me, until it becomes more accessible, I'm going to be skipping it for now. Number 7 is the decline of alcohol use, and the shift is real. People are becoming more aware of alcohol's links to cancer, sleep disruption, mood issues, and even weight gain. And there is a culture out there that's being called the sober curious, and it's made cutting back on alcohol socially acceptable. Now, alcohol going down, I believe, is a great thing overall. There are 0 health benefits to drinking. It's been associated with higher cancer risk, poor sleep, weight gain, and a lot of unnecessary downsides like car crashes, fights, and a lot of regret.
Something not that chill happened last night.
Now, there's one upside to alcohol is that it can lower inhibition and it can actually help people connect a lot deeper, which would make socializing a lot more fun and easier. And especially in a world that is getting lonelier by the minute, this is actually a good thing. And I'm actually a fan of this one. I'm already drinking way less alcohol than I did in my entire life, and I feel so much better as a result of it, and I'm going to continue to do so. That said, I'm not opposed to having an old-fashioned at a really good cocktail bar when I'm sitting across the table from my beautiful wife and we're having a date night. Trend number 8 is going to be the rise of psychedelic therapy. So there is a massive unmet need in mental health right now, and I feel like mental health is just getting worse. And traditional medications and therapy often underdeliver, so people and clinicians are looking for new pathways and also psychedelic assisted therapies. Therapies like MDMA, psilocybin, and ketamine have actually reached late-stage clinical trials, and this stuff is not fringe anymore. It's headed into formal medicine for good reason. When matched with supportive therapy, they can actually open a window of heightened neuroplasticity, which will help loosen your rigid patterns and thoughts and emotions. Several studies have shown that psychedelic therapies can help people safely process trauma and depression in ways that standard medications often fail to achieve. And this one I'm actually a big fan of. Almost a decade ago, I did MDMA therapy, and it was one of the most life-changing experiences. It helped me see things in my past with more compassion, things that used to trigger me, old patterns that you can call trauma. To this day, it feels like I actually processed and healed those parts of myself that I've been carrying for years. I do see psychedelic therapy as a legitimate breakthrough for mental health and even performance, but this is not something that I would mess around with. If I were to recommend anyone to do it, it would actually have to be with a qualified professional, someone who can tell you whether or not this is even right for you and actually guide you through the process. Most importantly, they would help you integrate what comes up, because this is the part where most people get it wrong. The biggest mistake is that they think the experience is the work when it's not. The work happens after. Now, the space is still new, and that means there's going to be a lot of bad actors. There's also going to be a lot of loose protocols and a small subset of people who will want to use this as a crutch. These are the people who are always chasing for the next breakthrough instead of actually doing the integration. So this one is powerful, but only when done right. Number 9 is Sauna Culture, and this has gone from being a Nordic niche to a global wellness phenomenon. So we're starting to see bathhouses, sauna clubs, and even floating saunas popping up. And the science actually backs it up. So with regular sauna usage, we improve our cardiovascular system, we release stress, and they actually have strong associations with longevity. Now, I'm a huge fan of this one. We already know what the benefits are, but I think there's one huge benefit that most people are missing. And one of the key benefits of sauna culture is about the connection. When you're sitting in a sauna, especially when you're combining this with, say, doing something like a cold plunge, you're doing something uncomfortable with other people. And this actually brings us closer together. Especially in a world where we are more isolated than ever, this community matters. One of the guys I know, Robbie, he actually runs a sauna club. It was one of the first ones. It's called Othership. He started in Toronto and now he's expanding into New York. And these are creating spaces where people can actually connect through something that's hard and healthy. Huge fan. I wish they had one in my town. Number 10, and the one that I think everybody should be doing, is digital detoxing. In a world where we are inundated with screens, and I know how ironic it is, I'm talking to you on the screen right now, it is going to be crucial for our brain health and emotional well-being. So right now we're starting to see more phone-free spaces, intentional tech rules, and unplugging challenges. And everyone from the media to wellness experts to even safety organizations are calling this a macro trend for 2026 and beyond. And this is a big one, especially if you want to reclaim your mind and focus. And by the way, if you've gotten this far into the video, I applaud you, because most people's attention span has gone so weak, they can't even watch past 1 minute of a video without wanting to do something else. There's actually a study that showed that by just blocking mobile internet on your phone for 2 weeks, it significantly improved attention, mental health, and overall well-being. The boost in focus was comparable to reversing about 10 years of age-related cognitive decline. And that's insane, but it also makes a lot of sense. We are constantly distracted. We have constant notifications. We're scrolling, we're swiping. Real context switching is at an all-time high, and it's basically training our brains to be more fragmented. And personally, I've gone to thinking back on paper. I carry this notebook around, and when I'm learning something new, or when I'm doing a meeting and I'm working through ideas, I write it all down, no screens. And there's just something about thinking on paper that forces you to have mental clarity. You actually start thinking instead of just reacting. So I am a huge fan of digital detoxes. I believe technology is an asset, but only used with intention. And I can't really see many bad things happening from taking a few days off to even a couple of weeks away from going on screens. So these are the top health trends for 2026. They're new, they're sexy, but I want to let you in on a little secret on the best health trend of 2026. Are you ready? It's the same one it always has been. Be a master at the fundamentals. Yes, some tools can help, but they will never be better at getting better at the boring basics. So if you got value out of this video, please subscribe. Thanks for watching. I'll see you on the next one.